Hello, welcome to Garden Chronicles. I'm actually doing a garden review of my 1 year anniversary from August last year, and I'm continuing with my part 2. Please do check out my part 1, my earlier video. So this particular one was a continuation of what I was talking about as my hydroponic plant setup, which I actually were cultivating begonias here. Sadly, truth be told, that not many of the begonias actually managed to pull through in this condition due to stress factor. Sometimes it's overwatering, and one of the main issue was that I've actually used a wrong fertilizer on it, and a lot of it actually died because of that because of that factor. So let's see. So what I've noticed here is that with all that has taken place, I also managed to cultivate this, and I find that cane begonias seems to be hardy like anything. So together with cane begonias, I have actually cultivated epicias here. Again, they're doing okay, fine. I've actually lost a lot of my epicias way back in my past because of scale insects. There's a type of scale insect that infects the episcia, sort of like a kind of dusty mold. Let me see if I can show it to you. Okay, this particular one. Can you see it? All right. Can you see it? This particular one? This is actually a culprit. So I will have to deal with this. I can't get rid of it fully, but I can control it. So again, coming back to pesticide, so the infection takes place like this. See, so this is sort of like a rot. Can you see all this is a culprit. So majority of my episcia dies because of this particular infection. So as I said, I have to use a very good fertilizer on this. Sorry, not fertilizer, pesticide on it in a way that organic type that doesn't kill the plant and doesn't destroy the ecology. So coming back to the challenges and the factors, so these are the ones that I managed to collect, and how do you say, as the years goes by, I learn the elements of balance of not getting them too wet and receiving good sunlight, and so therefore able to keep them in my garden condition for long term. So some of it I've just recently purchased, and so this particular one is Bremi Viosa, something like that. Please forgive me. I'm doing a unedited voiceover. Normally what I'll do is I record and then I do a voiceover, and so I prepare my vocals. And so see over here is bending. So in my last video I spoke about putting proper support for them so that this doesn't happen. So I will have to do that later. So that's the thing about my garden. If I start gardening, I won't be able to take a video, and if I take a video, I will not be able to start it. But there's never a perfect proper time, picture perfect. So by the time I want to do so, before you know it, few months will pass by. So this is what you see it as really as it is. So you know that this is the challenges of all the gardeners that face, that nothing is perfect when it comes to garden. And again, I can tell you frankly, a gardener's work is never complete. It's always a process, it's always a journey. So this is my process and my journey. Sort of like a therapy for me. Now, what works best is that the plants that can survive in my garden and they can grow well, and I can propagate them and I can keep them in my garden, that's good enough. So I do let go of a few of the species and begonia plants. That was quite a struggle for me. One of it was iron cross begonia. They constantly was rotting and finicky and didn't really do well, and some other rhizome begonias. So this particular one, Luzonis, is okay. So no promises, it may suddenly die. So I just left it as it is. So far so good. So this is where my focus is very much to do with epicias. Because I find that this is the only place they do so well, and any other place it seems to rot away or die. So that kind of context. So coming back with this, what I find that I don't really water it because supposedly a hydroponic system. You can check out on my earlier videos in context on how I care and cultivate them in this kind of a condition. Now coming back to my rest of my other collection, what I have phased out is, as I said, all my begonias. Way back then I was actually having all my begonias here, but they were constantly dying. I have now replaced them with this particular type of aroids. These are actually Anthurium types and Schismester goddesses. Also a little bit of begonia here and there, cane begonia, and also slowly introducing alocasia. Slowly this bambino. Slowly is okay. I wouldn't say it's happening, but it's sort of like acclimatizing. But this particular one I just recently purchased is Sarian. It actually died. The whole thing died, but a new leaf just came up, so it's sort of like acclimatized. So in a way, yeah, it's happening. And this is Magnificum, Anthurium Magnificum. So yeah, so I suddenly fell in love with the heart-shaped plant, and the one that has a very prominent deep vein effect on plants. So visually it sort of give a kind of an impact to me in my garden, sort of a compact impact. And again, when it comes to care and maintenance, I find that this particular type is so robust, so hardy, no problem, overwatering, underwatering, name it. They just can handle it. They can handle the weather the storm. So this is where I actually ditched the begonias and slowly switched to anthuriums. So you don't really see me talking so much about begonias, but more on hardy plants. So what has happened here is, over the years during the COVID season, where plant nursery, everything was shut down, everything went online. So these are trending plants. I think they're still expensive, but much more affordable now. So I managed to exchange and collect and buy a small tiny plant and try to cultivate, and in trial and errors. I will actually explain to you what are these. A lot of these newer leaves tend to have this problem, because the thing is it's not an insect bite or it's not a damage because of snail. It's just that when they are unrolling, the leaf seems to be so tight and it forces itself out, and it bruises itself. And because the young leaf is so fragile, that by the time they are done, this happens. So I say in every single species this happens. So there is a way to do it. It's like you have to trim off all the old leaf and just have to keep one particular leaf. That one particular leaf will come undamaged, but I don't want to do so, because if I were to do so, I'm also taking a risk where the plant can go dormant or can rot away in my garden condition. So I'd rather keep a damaged leaf plant rather than kill the whole plant, and then there goes the collection. So I really forgot all their names, please. So I'll come back to you. If I'm not wrong, this is North or this is Verde. So one of those. I really can't know the difference between North and Verde. But as I said, I'm not so keen on their names now. I'm just happy with the waning effects that is taking place. And again, when it comes to Anthurium, please do take note that majority of them are actually hybrids. They are not in their real original condition of their species. So yeah, I'm actually having a collection of hybrids because they are cheap. So, and they are hardy actually when it comes to hybrids, because they seems to cultivate by seed form. And what happens is that they have cultivated to go well with the weather, the condition. So majority of this is very much local, and if at all, if they are imported, is around Indonesia and the surrounding areas. So in a way, they are now tropical. Coming back to this particular one, Calaverinium. This one is fussy. This one is more of cold hardy type. So this is rare in comparison with Crystallinum and Magnificum. Magnificum and crystallinum is sort of like very common plant. This is a very common one. This is identified as crystallinum mini in a way because of the formation is that it is very small and bushy, and this is supposedly the magnificum because of the giant large leaves. Now the fact here is this, I must tell you that this is not actually original magnificum. This is actually a hybrid with crystallinum and magnificum, so you get a world of both. So you get to see the whole collection here. So this is what has taken place in this year's time, where eventually I find that Anthurium seems to weather the storm, and at the background is the collection of all of my Dieffenbachias that I managed to collect over the years, and I find that they give very good colors. I actually like the colors and the patterns and the splotch and the blotch and all that features that a Dieffenbachia can give. It's sort of like it gives the very beautiful features, and they are hardy actually. So in a way, how do you say, okay, there's a lot of taboo with Dieffenbachia. A lot of them say, oh, it's poisonous, why are you cultivating, you're not dangerous, kind of stuff. In my point of view, it's like, as long as it's out of reach and I'm not eating it, none of the edibles are nearby on that, and so it's good to go as an ornament plant. So for me, it's actually very much visual, so I'm enjoying it because of its beauty. I have no intention to eat them, so do take note that yes, they are toxic. Most aroids are actually, however, I'm not growing them as edibles. So this is basically the collection for which I have actually switched from begonias to Anthurium, and believe me, they have not died. None of the species has died from my hands. Oh, there's a new leaf here. Interesting. I know that I can capture it. Just give me a minute. Yes. You see it? Okay. There's a new leaf here. So Anthurium leaves are very interesting because the newer ones first turns red fully, and then it slowly turns brown and green. So that's a thing to celebrate or enjoy when they actually come out. So this is another type of Schismatogoletis, and this is another one that I managed to collect. Majority of this is actually from a collector. So from a collector, and I exchanged to another collector. Then I got this from another collector. So this is another type. So how do you say, it's not really in the plant market. It may come in later. Can you see this color here? And then there's patches here. So how do you say? So the idea here is that I grow what I enjoy and love. And the other thing here is this: I don't buy expensive plants, especially trending plants, because I find that they can be so expensive, and before you know it, the price crash. It's not even near nominal of what you actually bought. It just, like for example, like this particular one, in the plant market, a matured plant such as this, about a year, 2 years ago, was about 1,500. Now you can get it for about 300, and that also is that if the customer wants to buy it, because the demand for it has crashed so badly that it is now a stock in most people's hands. So all those people that bought it for investment are actually holding it and just wondering what to do with it, because nobody is interested, not anymore. So in that context, majority of the philodendron, the aroids, especially the monstera, the variegated species, and then the Anthurium, some of it is still holding its fort, but majority of them has collapsed. So I would suggest not to buy expensive plants, because if you unless you're super rich and you don't mind buying it, then it's fine. But if you're making ends meet, I'll suggest just hold on for another 1 or 2 years. I can bet you there'll be an overload of plants in the plant market that you'll be amazed that the prices they are sold, and if you were to buy them very expensive, say about 1,000 or 3,000, or even those plants that actually cost about 300 is now 30 ringgit. And the sellers, those vendors are having tough time just to sell those plants because the trend has already fallen apart. And then the COVID season is out, nobody's actually indoors, everybody went back to work, and those people have started back their normal lifestyle. So it's good for collectors because plants are cheap, but those people who are selling it, it's going to be tough on them. This is regale. It's actually supposed to be a hybrid. So there are so many Anthuriums actually. So as I said, I'm just interested to purchase and buy the type that has this veining. So and I find that this too has it. Also, yes, there's some philodendron that does have the same effect. Those gloriosum, varicosum, but they're still pricey now. So I'm not pursuing that for now at this moment. So until I wait for the price drop, then I might get into it. But also I have challenges where, how do I say it, lack of space. Silver blush, now you can see it. So I will do a detailed video more when I take out the plants out from the garden. I will do a more detailed information video on the Anthurium collection that I've actually purchased and cultivating them in my garden. But as for now, I think this is what I want to show to you in the overall garden that I actually have in this year's collection. So this is how bright it gets on a normal day. Now coming back to the top collection of what I actually have is very much the epiphytes, more on the Hoya, ferns, bromeliads also, and together with orchids, those that actually survive, and fishtail cactus, if they call it like in normal terms, but it's not. I forgot the name. Really, it's so difficult to pronounce. Some Anthurium, phylum, and the kind of stuff. It's supposed to be queen of the night, or night queen, night orchid, or something like that. So I'll come back to the names, but basically this is the collection that I have here currently, and they do well in the side shade of the sunlight. This is how bright it gets. So basically this is what I find that does well in my garden space for now. And so these are the ones that I'm actually cultivating. This is the air plants that comes on this side here, and see if I can show you on the other side. You can view it. So basically, yeah, it's all drappled and shaded. I like that cascading effect in my garden. So basically, that's all about that. So I have come to the conclusion of my video. If you have any questions, do put them in a comment below, and I'll try my best to answer them in my best ability as possible. If you can, please click like and subscribe my channel and support my garden journey here. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much and have a nice day. Bye.